man. I appreciate you being here.
Of course, of course. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. LJ first told me about you. I think it was like a year and a half ago or something when he found out I was from St. Louis.
Right.
And he was like, I knew there was something about you. Like, you have the same kind of vibe. I couldn't put my finger on it as one of my boys, B.O.Z. And I was like, oh, we got to meet up. And then a year and a half later, it's finally happening.
Exactly. Nah, and I think it's crazy, too. Like, he was telling me a little bit, like, I know somebody like you. And I was like, okay, I doubt it. And then after we got to meet and talk a little bit, I was like, yeah, I think he actually from my neighborhood or somewhere like down the street. And we got to talk and get to the nitty gritty. And it's definitely a little crazy to me, though, still.
I mean, it's that 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah, 6 degrees, like man. And like I said, it's literally my third person in like the last week, all from St. Louis, who's all like childhood memories grew up with. And, you know, a lot of memories. We were talking about a house party. We were talking about just different areas, different restaurants, different events we used to be at. It's super crazy.
Same football games. I mean, like sports,
literally
mixers.
My school used to be your school. Very bad.
Oh, in football.
Very bad. Football specifically.
You weren't the only ones. I got not to break it to you.
Okay,
but
that's true. That's true.
But yeah, I mean, and the funniest thing is to me about like the same vibes when we were talking. We were all saying same kind of just way of operating, running around town. Like you know, knowing when to watch it back, knowing when like it was all right to kind of. Like free yourself up. And then I think moving to Colorado, to me, I definitely noticed just a different feel when you're driving around the city in Denver specifically. Did you feel any of that when you came here?
When I came here, it's almost the opposite for me, and it maybe just be the environment to which I ran before I came here. But when I came here, I felt like I could let my hair down. I could finally take that shrug off. As we all know, growing up in the Midwest, you feel like you want to get out. You want to just be somewhere that's not where you're at. And when I got here, Colorado just felt so free. It felt like such a peaceful, loving space and accepting place. Not different from where I was from, but more progressive and a nuance that I haven't been able to experience. And so for me, it's a ability to let my hair down in Colorado, but also I miss what St. Louis taught me, which is to not only be aware of my surroundings, but be more engaged with who I am intentional with.
True.
And I feel like Colorado has taught me that lesson.
Yeah. I mean, I think the letting your hair down for sure. Like I remember just seeing, for me, it was like, because there's churches, obviously a lot of places in Missouri and everything, but the first time I saw a sign outside of church that said like, we accept, you know, every race, creed, religion, whatever you are, like as long as you're following, come on in and everything like that. And that to me was a moment where I was like, oh, it really is like different here. Like you don't have to constantly be feeling like you have to be somebody specific, have to fit a specific mold and everything like that. When did you feel like Colorado, did you know right away that like this is my new home, or were you kind of feeling it out at first?
I mean, I've been here for 5 years, and I think after the first 2 years, I really was like, this is somewhere that is accepting, and somewhere that is accepting me as a community that I can not only grow, but navigate in my own waters to matriculate. I moved here when I was 21, so I was super young, but it was just an area that I felt like, okay, this is where I can mature, this is where I can matriculate. In that same sentence, though, I also felt like Colorado was too good to be true. Like way too good to be true. Like they have a lot of different things, like weed's legal. They got, you know, open gay marriage legal is passed right after California. They have a lot of progression going on here, but we have so much history of depression and suppression of people, of the biggest KKK chapter in the West Coast in the country came here. The biggest demonstration of racial oppression came here. 16th and over by their market is even by the church, you know, was burned down in the 1800s. You have over here on Welton Street a house that was owned by Madam C.J. Walker burned down by the Klan in the 1890s, around then. And so you have so much history in Colorado that everything that shines isn't truly beautiful. And it's why I look at states that are super, super progressive, because I want to know, why are you so progressive? Because you have histories that aren't progressing, and that's why I want to be here, because you have a lot of things that it looks good, but it's not moving the needle.
Right. Because LJ was telling me how you working at the Feed the Streets event in right around Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah. So I've been running Feed the Streets for the last 5 years, going on January 15th. Coming up on 5 years, and that is designed to not only feed the homeless but provide mental health resources to the Black and Brown community. And for the last 5 years, we have done that. We've been able to serve over 20,000 people, provide over 5,000 personal hygiene kits, provide 100 plus hours of mental health services to the brown and Black community, been able to stand for justice and equality in the protests for Elijah McClain through COVID. Been able to be a pillar in education by being a keynote speaker at Colorado School of Mines for MLK Day in 2019. There's so many things that we've done, so many things. Being the backpack drive of 2019, giving out over 750 backpacks to over 300 plus families, partnering with great folks like King Soopers and Pepsi and the Denver Urban League and other folks of Denver that's made Feed the Streets who they are, like Colorado Coalition for the Homeless are great folks and sponsors sometimes, as well as Black Women for Political Action, Munchies and Mimosas, so many organizations that and people, leaders, political leaders that have impacted and changed and have dedicated themselves to the mission of feeding people because it's necessary, not because it's right, because no one has to, because everyone deserves to eat, everyone deserves the opportunity. I'm not saying we're at the strength to provide housing assistance yet, but that's the future. We're 5 years in and we got a decade, 5 more to go. So,
and what I hear like that jumps out to me the most is, it's Feed the Streets. Like you said, you provide those meals, you give them that, but driving through Denver, anybody knows there's a lot of these, camps full of homeless people, and where it's easy to brush that off. Obviously, we all know it's the mental health, it's the safety of giving them, enough peace of mind to understand that their lives aren't going to be at risk at all times and everything like that. What do you think? Are you frustrated with anything in the city of Denver specifically, or when you look at it and compare it to maybe some of the other cities, do you think it's farther ahead?
When I look at it in comparison to, I can only look at it from where I'm from, and where I'm from is the city we're both from, and I believe, in my own humble opinion, that Denver has a problem when it comes to the unhoused population compared to our problem in St. Louis, which is gun violence and systematic oppression and poverty and being able to trust your police and be able to trust your city council. Denver doesn't have those problems as prevalently. They have a homeless epidemic that they can solve and that can be solved. And I'm not saying that St. Louis doesn't have one as well, but in a crammed in city, you have to be able to do things. And I feel like it's actually crazy. Missouri, as of January 1st today, I don't know if you know, but they actually created and passed a bill that will fine any unhoused person $750 and arrest you for 15 days up in jail for sleeping and being camping is what they call it on state property, which is sidewalks, state parks, anything. So
I didn't know that.
It's illegal now to be homeless. Because you're going to go to jail and get fined.
Well, and one of the other large factors in this systematic and generational poverty and racism that happens is this, from the schools to the jails and the prison systems and
prison pipeline.
Yeah, the prison pipeline. Thank you. And the police presence. You talked about a history of negative racial aspects in Colorado. Obviously, Missouri, we have the Dred Scott case. We have, Keener Plaza, and a lot of these really beautiful places downtown in the city are also museums to some of the darkest parts of our past. And what do you think when you talk about that police presence? And I'm thinking of Michael Brown and Ferguson. For me, growing up a little more west of all that, in like a nice suburb, I remember when that happened, it was eye-opening to me that people, this close to me, just 20, 30-minute drive away, or have a completely different relationship with the police. What do you think is most important to try to bridge that gap? Is that something you've talked to people about or thought about at all?
I think what allows us to bridge the gap is to be the change that you want to see, and that had to come from me personally, internally, being that I grew up almost in the same area that you did, being west of the city, not in the action but still a part of the action.
Right.
We as St. Louisans and Missourians, we sometimes like to dissociate ourselves and be like, oh, that's just going on in the city. That's going on down the street. Oh, that's just in St. Louis.
Right.
That's just over the bridge. That's 10 minutes away. That's still your city. In Denver, 10 minutes away means down the street still. 30 minutes away means another city.
Yep.
45 minutes away is another city. It's still close. That's still where you're from. And for me, growing up and being adopted and coming from the city and living in the county and understanding, I was in high school, I was a senior when that happened, and it was really just eye-opening for me because it was one of those moments that I had to realize, do I want to be a part of the problem or the solution? And by that I mean, this is a moment where my city, because you were there too, and you're a part of the city. It's not about a racial thing. It's not about black people. Of course, black people were upset, but my city was upset.
Yes.
Because we did something very foolish, and then they tried to play us like we were fools, and then they tried to cover it up like we were fools, and then they got discovered, and now we are here where we are, and it's tragic, and that's it taught me that. Compared to Colorado, that had the same thing happen when Elijah McClain happened. And I got to stand there and be a part of that change. It made me reflect on the Michael Brown situation and how I could have been a part of the problem and smashing and doing all these things. But standing for the problem and letting them know that this is not acceptable. Because even though this is my city and I've never been to Aurora or anywhere near those vibes and those vibrations, it's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable at all. And for someone like me, I have the same birthday as the anniversary as Ahmaud Arbery that got killed. So I just always think of these situations that happen, and it doesn't matter where we're from. It's always the same situation. So
yeah, and I think what strikes me most about you too is just talking to you, just getting to know you before we came on. You're saying, I asked you what you do. You said, what don't I do? And I was like, all right. I was like, people say that all the time. And then you went from everything from event planning to singer-songwriter to executive producer. And, you have that spirit clearly where you not only are from, these, what I think is that great place in St. Louis, great in a lot of good ways, great in a lot of bad ways. But the way you've channeled that into really being an artist, in all these different forms. And then that's why when you talk about having a studio back in St. Louis, that's what I always think of about, what can we do to really bring the brightness back to the city? And it's there. We were talking Cardinal baseball is still popping off. It's always there.
But what you need and what everyone needs is just to reinvest back in themselves. And in 2023, a lot of folks are saying they want to be more selfish, but I think we need to be more selfish as a city, more selfish about taking pride in our community. We're getting to the ages and the times and lifestyles where our matriarchs of our families are no longer around, and we're becoming the new age matriarchs, new age adults, and we need to take pride and influence the culture and take more power, because we have way much power that's not being utilized, and it's because we feel like we don't. And it's really wrong, because we literally have all of the power. Not all of it, but at 26, 27, we're a lot of decision makers, and we are a lot of the influencers of people of our age. So being from St. Louis and being able to go back and influence the city is something that I've always had a fear but a super dream of, and that's why I came to Denver to do what I could do as a vacation, but to graduate and to matriculate, but to be able to go home and, like I tell a lot of folks all the time, to be able to go home and to do exactly what I've been able to do in Denver, but in my own city, is such a better feeling. It's literally winning like a World Series because you're doing what you do for your people.
Yeah.
For where you're from, to where people understand where you're coming from.
And you're
not
doing
just do it because you're a transplant here.
Yeah, exactly. And you're doing it from a place of doing whatever you can to bring more love and more light. You're not coming back with it of a I'm coming to fight and take back or take over. It's a let's get together.
And that's how, and you know how the city can be.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it is. It's he's coming back here for. I'm not coming back here for me. Right. I'm not coming back here for showboating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do that already sometimes, but I'm coming back here for literally the city. I'm coming back here because the city is growing so much, and it's finally at a place of acceptance, and not even acceptance, but it's at a place of listening. And I feel like since they'll listen, you can influence change, and I'm just here to inspire change. And so if I can go back to St. Louis and do what I've been doing here, you know, it's just gonna make it feel all the better. Because folks been asking me for years, how do you feel doing Feed the Streets? How do you feel? You must feel great. And honestly, I always tell them, I don't feel no type of way. I don't feel great. I don't feel bad. I feel like I'm doing what I'm doing. I feel like I'm in motion.
Yeah.
I have a lot of great moments to talk about to where people are like, ooh. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I did it. But to be able to do it in St. Louis is just going to hit so much differently. Like, these are radio stations that I listened to growing up. These are
104.1.
KS 75. Like,
you got
I'm trying to go talk to Delilah or somebody. Like, I'm trying to, like, meet these people that I listened to growing up to in the radio in my room.
Yeah.
And being that part, because I think that's winning to me. And going from there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you being here.
Of course.
Appreciate the conversation.
Y'all for having me. Yeah, y'all are amazing.
You're 100% already an inspiration, so
thank you.
Just keep doing what you're doing, and the city's lucky to have you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, bro. Yes, sir.